In the heart of Indiana lies a charming little town known as Kokomo, where life is simple and ideal for raising children. This quaint town boasts a reputation for its low crime rate, earning it the nickname City of Firsts. However, beneath its serene exterior, Kokomo harbors a dark and tragic tale that left its mark on the community forever. It's a story that revolves around a young woman named Destiny Pittman, whose life was tragically cut short on a fateful night in 2013, marking one of the town's first harrowing incidents. Destiny Pittman, born on January 9, 1992, in Kokomo, was the child of Melvin L. Douglas Jr. and Carla A. Pittman McCombs. Destiny had a close-knit family with siblings and many friends who cherished her for her beautiful smile and charming personality. Her mere presence had the power to illuminate any room she entered. Destiny nurtured dreams of a modeling career, brimming with excitement about her future endeavors. Just 8 months before her untimely demise, Destiny had purchased a house where she resided with her boyfriend and a roommate. Their home also included 2 children and 3 dogs, among them a Chihuahua and 2 pit bulls. The clock struck 9:33 p.m. on February 7, 2013, when a chilling call reached the Kokomo police, urgently requesting their presence at 815 James Drive. The report indicated a shooting had occurred. Responding swiftly, officers arrived at the scene by 9:40 p.m., discovering a bullet hole in the wall and the lifeless body of 21-year-old Destiny Pittman lying in a pool of her own blood. Tragically, Destiny was pronounced dead on the spot. What makes this case all the more bewildering is that everyone in the house at the time of the incident, including the dogs, bore witness to the shocking event. 2 strangers had entered their sanctuary, ruthlessly ending the life of a young woman with her entire future ahead of her. They committed the heinous act, seizing cash and drugs before vanishing without a trace, leaving Kokomo in shock. Destiny Pittman's autopsy revealed that her untimely demise was due to a single gunshot wound to her chest, which pierced through her body and struck the wall behind her. A single .40 caliber shell casing was recovered from the crime scene. Subsequently, the police conducted interviews with Destiny's boyfriend and roommate to unravel the events that transpired that dreadful night. According to their accounts, there was a loud knock on the door, putting everyone in the house on high alert. Suddenly, the door was kicked in, and 2 armed intruders stormed into the premises. Destiny, perhaps unaware of the impending danger, confronted the intruders, who reacted by fatally shooting her. Chaos ensued as everyone in the house sought refuge, with Destiny's roommate and boyfriend unable to catch more than a fleeting glimpse of one of the intruders, represented by a solitary shoe. The intruders proceeded to ransack the house, with one of them voicing frustration, exclaiming, "Where the F is it?" After their nefarious act, the assailants fled the scene in a vehicle that remained unseen by the witnesses. Destiny's dreams, aspirations, and the promise of her future were all mercilessly extinguished on that tragic night in 2013. The roommate, though unable to identify the intruders visually, expressed her belief that they were African American, citing their urban-sounding voices as the basis for her assumption. However, she conceded that it remained a possibility that they could have been of a different ethnicity. Destiny's boyfriend, in his confession to the police, revealed that both he and Destiny had been involved in the sale of marijuana, although Destiny had withdrawn from the business after inheriting a sum of money. He admitted to having possession of a bag of marijuana and more than $2,000 earned from a recent drug sale a few days prior to the intrusion. The police surmised that the intruders might have been motivated by their knowledge of the drugs and cash kept in the house. Beyond these details, the police had little to go on, with no substantial leads to pursue. 2 years passed, and it was now 2015, with the police still fervently working to unravel the mystery. The only information available was the cooperation of Destiny's boyfriend and roommate, who provided all the details they could recall. The dedicated detectives refused to relent, driven by the hope of bringing justice to Destiny and closure to her grieving family. In the midst of their anguish, Destiny's family struggled to come to terms with her tragic death. Her mother, Carla Pittman McCombs, preserved everything in the house as it was on that fateful day in 2013. The bullet hole remained untouched, along with all of Destiny's photographs. The only attempt at normalcy was the effort to remove the bloodstains from the bedroom floor. Carla's grief was unrelenting, and she often found herself in tears, battling depression. She clung to the hope that someone would come forward with information about her daughter's death, and she made her sentiments known in a media statement. She lamented the complete upheaval of her life, expressing her dissatisfaction with the perpetrators who had taken her child for no apparent reason, leaving her with immeasurable pain and devastation. Destiny's stepfather, Steve McCombs, observed that Carla was struggling to cope with her daughter's death even after all these years. She would often welcome visitors into their home, referring to it as Destiny's house or Destiny's home. Destiny's biological father, Douglas Jr., shared his ongoing ordeal, expressing his daily struggles and the frustration he felt. He understood the limitations faced by the police in discussing the case due to its ongoing nature, but couldn't help but miss his daughter terribly. He held on to the hope that the individuals responsible would eventually have families of their own, experiencing the joy of parenthood. In that moment of understanding, he believed they might comprehend the depth of pain caused by their actions and come forward with a confession. Another unnamed family member echoed the sentiments of many, acknowledging that Destiny's heart would never beat again. While no amount of justice could ever be enough, they believed that the family deserved closure. They denounced the cold-heartedness and ruthlessness of the perpetrators, emphasizing the need for accountability. Captain Teresa Galloway of the Kokomo Police Department issued a statement, asserting that the case remained an open investigation, firmly rejecting the notion of classifying it as a cold case. They continued to welcome tips and pursue all leads diligently, urging anyone with information to come forward. However, for years, no substantial breakthroughs emerged, and the prospects of solving Destiny's case grew increasingly dim. Hope was rekindled in 2021 when the Kokomo police renewed their plea for information regarding Destiny's homicide. They affirmed that her case remained open and that they had been diligently investigating all tips and leads received over the past 8 years. They beseeched the public, urging them to share any knowledge they possessed. However, as time passed, it seemed that Destiny's case would remain shrouded in mystery. A significant turning point occurred on December 5, 2022, when the Kokomo Police Department received a voicemail that would change the course of the investigation. A woman reached out, expressing her belief that the case should have been resolved by now. Frustrated by the lack of progress, she felt compelled to share information she had kept hidden for years. After witnessing press releases about Destiny's case for an extended period, she could no longer bear the burden of silence. She disclosed the identities of the 2 individuals who had barged into Destiny's house on that fateful night in 2013, 36-year-old Jesse McCartney and 32-year-old Joey McCartney. The informant initially conveyed her fear of Jesse McCartney, but when contacted by the police, she revealed that she had been in the company of the McCartney brothers on the night of the incident. They had claimed they were running an errand, and she had tagged along. She had been waiting in a Jeep parked outside Destiny's house when she heard a loud noise emanating from within. Within minutes, Jesse emerged from the house clutching a gallon-sized bag of marijuana and a substantial amount of cash. Joey followed suit, and Jesse, the owner of the firearm used in the crime, displayed visible signs of distress and anxiety. The informant further disclosed that the McCartney brothers had sold both the gun and the Jeep within 6 months of the incident. Jesse subsequently asked the informant to accompany him and drove past Destiny's house the following day, pointing out the police tape surrounding the premises to confirm the accuracy of the story. When the police asked the informant to identify the house she was referring to, it was confirmed to be Destiny's residence on James Drive. She also revealed that Jesse had changed his phone number but was still residing in Kokomo, specifically on Monroe Street. In contrast, his brother Joey had relocated to Kentucky. Building on this newfound information, the police revisited Destiny's boyfriend and showed him photographs of Jesse and Joey McCartney. Destiny's boyfriend recognized Joey recalling having seen him in their house in the company of a mutual friend. Finally, after a decade of persistent investigation and leads provided by the public, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. With the accumulation of sufficient evidence, the authorities wasted no time in seeking justice. An official statement confirmed that investigators from the Criminal Investigations Section had obtained arrest warrants for Jesse and Joey McCartney. Joey was apprehended by the U.S. Marshals and local police around 6 a.m. on March 2, 2023, at a residence in Graham, Kentucky. Merely 2 hours later, Jesse was taken into custody at his Kokomo residence. Both McCartney brothers were charged with a slew of offenses, including robbery resulting in bodily injury, conspiracy to commit burglary resulting in bodily injury, and murder, all categorized as Class A felonies. Additionally, they faced a Class B felony charge of burglary. Indiana court records revealed that Joey had a prior run-in with the law, having faced a misdemeanor battery charge in September 2012. Subsequently, a pretrial diversion agreement was filed on February 28, 2013, and the scheduled bench trial was canceled by March 2014 after Joey successfully completed the diversion program, resulting in the dismissal of the case. Jesse McCartney also had a police record, having been charged with battery in September 2012. The victim in this case was a healthcare provider who suffered injuries, leading to the modification of the charge to a felony. On April 3, 2013, a pretrial diversion agreement was filed, and the case was ultimately dismissed within a year, with the case file destroyed in 2016. Following their arrest, Jesse and Joey McCartney appeared for their initial hearings on March 9 and March 10, 2023. Both brothers entered a plea of not guilty, but the judge ordered them to be held without bond. As they awaited their trial, the community grappled with the realization that after a decade of mystery, the McCartney brothers would finally face the consequences of their actions. The tragic story of Destiny Pittman's senseless death in Kokomo serves as a testament to the enduring pursuit of justice by law enforcement and the unwavering determination of a grieving family. Destiny's memory lives on, and her case reminds us that even the darkest mysteries can be unraveled with time, persistence, and the courage of those who come forward with crucial information. As the McCartney brothers await their day in court, the town of Kokomo stands united in the hope that justice will finally be served for Destiny and her loved ones. In Fontana, California, a city nestled within San Bernardino County, boasting a population of over 215,000 residents. This city is renowned for its steel mill and the California Speedway, offering not only an industrial landscape, but also a variety of parks and recreational activities for its inhabitants to enjoy. However, beneath its seemingly ordinary facade, Fontana holds a chilling secret, one that unraveled with the mysterious disappearance and murder of a man in 1988. On the morning of June 8, 1988, Angel Martinez, a 27-year-old man, awoke before the sun had even graced the horizon. His day began like any other, as the dedicated owner of Arrowwood Apartments in Fontana. Angel's responsibilities included collecting rent from his tenants, and on that fateful morning, he gathered a bundle of cash rent money, ready to carry out this routine task. Little did Angel know that this seemingly ordinary transaction would be the last of his life. As the day progressed, Martinez inexplicably vanished, leaving behind a community in shock and distress. The kind-hearted owner of Arrowwood Apartments had disappeared without a trace. His wife reported his sudden absence, and a frantic search began immediately, with friends, family, and authorities alike eager to discover his whereabouts. The mystery deepened when on June 17, 1988, Angel Martinez's abandoned car was found in the parking lot of a Duarte bowling alley. This discovery only raised more questions, as there was no sign of Angel, and his car yielded little in the way of evidence. 3 days later, in the desolate expanse of the Arizona desert, a grim revelation was made. A lifeless body, buried in a shallow grave, was unearthed and identified as Angel Martinez. However, the scant evidence found at the scene and in his car offered few leads. Investigators faced a perplexing puzzle, with foreign DNA on Angel's clothing being one of the few tangible pieces of evidence. It became increasingly apparent that this heinous crime was likely an inside job, but the identity of the mastermind and their accomplices remained shrouded in uncertainty. Determined to unravel the truth, Fontana Police Department Detective Catherine Clark devoted herself to the case, knowing that justice must be served, no matter how long it took. With unwavering dedication, Detective Clark delved into the enigma surrounding Angel Martinez's disappearance and murder. Through exhaustive interviews with Martinez's neighbors and colleagues, a mosaic of the events of that ominous day began to take shape. It was revealed that Angel had scheduled appointments with several individuals, none of whom he met, as he inexplicably vanished. Beyond this, investigators struggled to glean further insights, and the case eventually went cold, haunting them for 35 long years. Yet their determination persisted. After meticulously reviewing evidence and conducting numerous forensic tests, a breakthrough finally occurred on March 1, 2023. The Fontana Police Department filed murder charges against Kelvin Keith Emmons, a 63-year-old man whose DNA matched the foreign DNA discovered on Angel Martinez's clothing. An arrest warrant was issued, igniting a spark of hope in the prolonged quest for justice. On March 5, 2023, in a determined pursuit of justice, law enforcement officers traveled to Wisconsin, where Emmons resided. With the assistance of the Des Peres Police Department, the moment that had eluded them for decades finally arrived. Kelvin Keith Emmons was apprehended, marking the end of years of anguish and uncertainty for Angel Martinez's grieving family. Emmons now awaits extradition to San Bernardino County, where he will stand trial for the murder of Angel Martinez. The resolution of this cold case stands as a testament to the tireless dedication of law enforcement officers and investigators in their relentless pursuit of justice for victims and their families. Fontana Police Chief Michael Dorsey lauded the unwavering efforts of all those involved in cracking this case, from the cold case detectives to the district attorney investigators. In a heartfelt statement, he expressed his gratitude for their relentless commitment to bringing justice to the Martinez family. This case serves as an inspirational reminder that one should never give up on unsolved cases, even when decades have passed since the crime occurred. The Fontana Police Department shared this sentiment on their Facebook page, emphasizing that justice can still be achieved, regardless of how much time has elapsed. The story of Angel Martinez's murder, the perseverance of those seeking the truth, and the eventual resolution of this chilling case exemplify the enduring pursuit of justice in our society. Then in 2022, authorities made the decision to revisit the case armed with advanced scientific and investigative tools. Detectives were resolute in their determination to finally bring closure to a case that had plagued them for so long. By developing a DNA profile from evidence collected in 1970, detectives embarked on a new path of investigation. They compared this DNA profile to publicly accessible genealogical databases and embarked on the painstaking task of constructing a family tree. This led them to identify potential relatives of the suspect, a crucial breakthrough in their pursuit of justice. A DNA sample was obtained from one of these relatives, whose identity was kept confidential by the authorities. With bated breath, the DNA sample was tested, and the long-awaited breakthrough finally occurred. The suspect was identified as Forrest Clyde Williams. However, the excitement of this discovery was tempered by a painful realization. Williams had passed away in Salem, Virginia, in 2018 from natural causes. Justice, it seemed, would remain elusive in this case. The bitter pill to swallow was that they had finally found the man responsible, but they could not hold him accountable for his crimes. In a press conference held on March 10, 2023, the police announced this breakthrough in the case. They revealed that Williams, who was 21 years old at the time of Pamela's death, had faced a few minor charges in the early 1970s, but apart from an assault arrest, he had no significant criminal record. The police disclosed that had Williams still been alive, he would have been charged with Pamela's murder. At present, they have not ruled out the possibility of additional suspects and are appealing to anyone who may have known Williams during that time to come forward with information. While justice may remain elusive for Pamela's untimely death, the resolution of her case does bring some closure to her grieving family and the community that has carried the weight of this unsolved mystery for so long. In the quiet town of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, on the chilly day of January 13, 1954, a newborn girl named Pamela took her first breath. She was the eldest of 3 siblings, born to Mr. and Mrs. William Conyers. Pamela's early life remained largely private, but her journey would soon take a remarkable turn. Fast forward to 1970, and Pamela had blossomed into a talented high school student attending Glen Burnie High School in the suburbs of Baltimore. At school, she proudly joined the ranks of the school band, showcasing her exceptional flute-playing skills. Like most teenagers, Pamela cherished her family and friends, eagerly creating unforgettable memories. Life seemed to hold endless possibilities for her. However, as fate would have it, Pamela's life would take an unexpected and dark turn that no one could have foreseen. It was the evening of Friday, October 16, 1970, and the air was electric with anticipation for Glen Burnie High School's homecoming bonfire and pep rally. Pamela was among the enthusiastic crowd, cheering on her school's team and soaking in the festive atmosphere as the night wound down. After the event, Pamela headed back home with excitement brewing in her heart. Her next task was to plan her outfit for the upcoming school dance, and she had a particular idea in mind. She needed shoe dye to match her dress, and her destination was the Harrendale Mall, just a short drive away from her home. Pamela's mother, always supportive of her daughter's fashion choices, handed her $5 for the show day at 8:30 p.m. Pamela left the house promising her mother that she would return shortly. She got into the family's car, a 1966 Dodge, and set off toward the mall. Little did Pamela's parents know that this night would mark the last time they would see their beloved daughter alive. If only they had possessed the foresight to anticipate the harrowing events that lay ahead, they might never have allowed her out of their sight. As the night grew longer, Pamela failed to return home, causing her parents increasing anxiety. It was unlike their daughter to stay out so late. Their worries and concerns deepened, and eventually, they took the painful step of reporting her as missing to the local police. That very night, law enforcement officers sprang into immediate action, determined to unravel the mystery of Pamela's disappearance. Their investigation began by retracing Pamela's steps, commencing with the Harrendale Mall, where she had gone to purchase the shoe dye. There, they discovered that she had indeed visited the mall and made her purchase, but what happened afterward remained shrouded in mystery. It was at this point that suspicions of an abduction began to emerge. The following morning, state and county law enforcement launched an extensive search effort, even utilizing a helicopter to cover as much ground as possible. However, it was as though Pamela had vanished into thin air. 2 days later, on October 19, 1970, a man walking in the woods stumbled upon an abandoned vehicle. The car was situated in an overgrown field, about 100 yards off Mountain Road Extension in Pasadena. Recognizing that something was amiss, the man promptly alerted the authorities. When the police arrived at the scene, they confirmed that the car was the same one Pamela had driven on the night she went missing. Yet, there was no sign of Pamela herself, and a crucial detail captured their attention. The car keys were nowhere to be found. This new piece of evidence deepened the mysteries surrounding Pamela's disappearance. As dawn broke on October 20, 1970, the search for Pamela intensified as officers scoured the densely wooded area around where her abandoned car had been discovered. Among the officers present was Patrol Officer Robert Switzer, who would make a gruesome discovery. Pamela's lifeless body lay on her side, off a deserted farm road. She was dressed in slacks and a pullover which had been turned inside out. It was later revealed that her underwear was missing. As additional officers arrived at the scene, they were overwhelmed by shock and sorrow. They diligently collected as much evidence as possible from the crime scene, and Pamela's body was transported for autopsy. The news of Pamela's death sent shockwaves of grief through her family. The autopsy results confirmed that she had died from strangulation, leaving no doubt that her death was a homicide. The hunt for her killer began in earnest, with detectives tirelessly following every lead that came their way. Pamela's clothing, along with soil and dirt samples vacuumed from the 1966 Dodge, were sent to the FBI crime lab in Washington for analysis. Regrettably, the technology available at the time proved insufficient to yield any leads, and as time passed, the case grew cold. The unsolved murder case remained a haunting presence for the investigators, a stark reminder of a tragedy that had eluded justice for over 5 decades. Granby, a charming small town nestled in the heart of Colorado, boasts a wealth of artistic and cultural attractions that draw in residents and tourists alike. The town is a haven for adventurers seeking the thrill of mountain life, surrounded by the laughter of those who call Granby home. However, beneath the picturesque facade of this tranquil town, a dark and horrifying incident marred its history in 1978. On November 15, 1978, a group of children were innocently playing along a logging road just off Amherst Road, about 15 miles from Springfield in Granby. Their carefree day took a sinister turn when they stumbled upon an ominous sight hidden beneath a pile of leaves, concealed beneath a log. As they cautiously approached the mysterious object, their shock and fear intensified as they discovered the lifeless body of a woman. The children immediately contacted the authorities, and the police hurried to the scene. What awaited them was a gruesome and unsettling scene: a decomposing body of a woman with a gunshot wound to her forehead. Adding to the macabre nature of the discovery, a man's belt was found tightly secured around her neck. The investigators combed the area meticulously in search of any clues that could shed light on this baffling crime. Yet their efforts were thwarted by the absence of a wallet, pocketbook, or any form of identification that could offer a lead to identify the victim. The body was swiftly sent for an autopsy, and the medical examiner's office confirmed the harrowing details of the woman's demise. She had been fatally shot in her temple, and the estimated time of her death pointed to a range between June and August. Beyond that, she remained an enigma, an unidentified woman between the ages of 19 and 27, standing at 5 feet 4 inches tall, with dirty blonde hair. The sole piece of evidence, the man's belt used to drag her body into the woods, did little to narrow down the pool of suspects or provide clues to her identity. Granby's police chief, John R. Kirchhoff, shared with the media that very little remained of the victim's body, which had undergone extensive decomposition. Almost all that remained was her skeletal structure. With so little to go on, the investigators had to rely on the details they could extract from her clothing. She wore a blouse, blue jeans, and shoes, all sized 14 to 16, indicating a chunkier build. Her clothing suggested that she might have been a young woman, but it lacked any tags or labels that could provide a lead. Despite the lack of concrete information, her clothing played a crucial role in engaging the public. The most significant detail was the short-sleeve pullover blouse, size 14, adorned with a green swan embroidered on the front and a green imitation suede collar. Additionally, a gold ring adorned one of her fingers, possibly a wedding ring. The authorities scoured recent missing persons reports to find a match but came up empty-handed. Furthermore, the victim's dental examination revealed a noticeable decay in her front teeth, prompting a search for dental records among the recently reported missing persons. Unfortunately, this endeavor yielded no results. The location of the discovery off Amherst Road near Route 116 raised the possibility that the victim might have been connected to one of the 5 colleges accessible via this route. The investigators delved into this avenue of inquiry, scrutinizing the student records of Mount Holyoke College in South Hadley, the University of Massachusetts, Hampshire and Amherst colleges in Amherst, and Smith College in Northampton. Regrettably, no reports of a missing female student matched the victim's description. As their leads dwindled, a glimmer of hope emerged when a motel operator contacted the authorities, believing that the description of the victim's body matched that of a woman who had checked into their establishment in early 1978. Promptly, the police located this woman, who was still alive and in good health. The mystery of the unknown woman persisted, and she became known as the Granby Girl. Over the years, sporadic leads would surface only to fizzle out, leaving the Granby Girl's identity shrouded in obscurity. In September 1998, nearly 2 decades after her tragic death, a group of Granby residents gathered at her resting place in the cemetery. They raised $500 to replace the wooden cross marking her grave with a permanent marker bearing the inscription, "Unknown, November 15, 1978, in God's care." It stood as a poignant symbol of a community's enduring care for an unnamed woman, whose hopes, dreams, troubles, and anxieties remained forever concealed from the world. Fast forward to 2021, and a new ray of hope illuminated the case. Detectives reached out to Othram Laboratories, a Houston-based corporation specializing in forensic genealogy. Through their expertise, a DNA profile was successfully constructed for the Granby Girl. Detectives reached out to Othram Laboratories, a Houston-based corporation specializing in forensic genealogy. Through their expertise, a DNA profile was successfully constructed for the Granby Girl. When compared against the national database, it yielded a match to a woman residing in Maryland. Astonishingly, this woman revealed that her aunt had disappeared in the 1970s and was willing to provide more information about her aunt's disappearance. The trail led to Matthew Dale, who shared a pivotal connection to the Granby Girl. He disclosed that his mother, Patricia Ann Tucker, had gone missing in 1978 when he was a mere 5 years old. The police explained the circumstances surrounding the Granby Girl, and Matthew agreed to provide his DNA sample in the hopes of finding his long-lost mother. In a matter of hours, the results confirmed a parent-child relationship between Matthew and the Granby Girl, finally providing closure to a 43-year-old mystery. Patricia Ann Tucker, born on July 28, 1950, was officially identified as the Granby Girl. Patricia had gone through multiple marriages and bore different last names such as Heckman and Dale. However, at the time of her tragic demise in 1978, at the age of 28, she went by the name Patricia Coleman. She had married Gerald Coleman just a year before her untimely death, and they had made their home along the eastern shore of Lake Pocatapog in East Hampton, Connecticut. Following her disappearance, many in her family speculated that she had fallen in with a dangerous crowd, and some believed she had entered a witness protection program. For Matthew Dale, the son who had grown up amid a cloud of uncertainty and rumors, the revelation of his mother's fate came in his 30s. At a press conference, First Assistant Northwestern District Attorney Stephen Gage expressed gratitude for the breakthrough in identifying the victim. He commended Othram Laboratories for their remarkable technological advancements in DNA analysis. However, he emphasized that the investigation into the murder would not rest until the perpetrator was brought to justice. While they lacked direct evidence, Gerald Coleman, Patricia's husband at the time of her death, was considered a person of interest. Strangely, he had never reported her disappearance to the police, casting a shadow of suspicion over his involvement. Gerald Coleman, convicted of sexual assault, battery, indecent assault, and assault with a dangerous weapon, passed away in prison in 1996. His death deprived the investigators of the opportunity to question him about Patricia's murder while he was still alive. Now they turned to the public, urging anyone with information about the case to come forward and assist in finally closing the chapter on this horrifying crime. Matthew Dale, the son who had long yearned for answers, expressed his gratitude to the diligent detectives, saying, "Thank you for never giving up on her. At least I have some answers now after 44 years. It's a lot to process, but hopefully the closure can begin now." While he possessed few mementos of his mother, including a single photograph, a lock of his hair she had kept, a baby book she had lovingly created, and a small tapestry she had painted during his childhood, he remained committed to honoring her memory. He remarked, "What I want to do is have a new gravestone made for her. She deserves to have her name on it." In conclusion, the long-standing mystery of the Granby Girl, an unidentified murder victim found in 1978, has finally been resolved through advanced DNA analysis and the determination of investigators. Patricia Ann Tucker, a woman who had gone missing and was presumed dead, has been identified as the Granby girl. While this revelation brings closure to her son and the community, the search for her killer continues, with hopes that justice will eventually be served. Patricia's tragic story serves as a reminder of the enduring commitment of law enforcement and the power of science in solving cold cases that have haunted communities for decades. Boulder County, Colorado, is renowned for its breathtaking natural beauty, with the majestic Rocky Mountains gracing the backdrop of Boulder City and the neighboring towns. This region is undeniably a unique and inspiring place to call home, but even amidst its serene charm, it harbors unsettling secrets. On June 4, 2006, two hikers stumbled upon a grisly discovery in South St. Frame Canyon along Highway 7, approximately 3.3 miles outside the town of Lyons, in unincorporated Boulder County, a badly decomposing nude body. The shock of their find prompted them to alert the authorities, setting in motion a dark and mysterious tale. Upon the arrival of law enforcement, it became evident that the human remains belonged to a woman. The district attorney's office noted that the body seemed to have been dragged to the location by a large animal from a shallow grave situated 20 feet away. Curiously, detectives uncovered a sleeping bag, a pair of yellow ski pants, and a pillow inside a pillowcase, all neatly folded. The deceased woman had no identification on her, except for a cross-ring adorning her left hand. Given the advanced state of decomposition, identifying her proved impossible. Therefore, investigators turned to other clues found on and around the body, delving approximately 14 inches deep into the gravesite. During their examination, forensic experts uncovered roughly 50 pounds of a white, powdery substance, which subsequent tests revealed to be calcium oxide, commonly known as quicklime. An autopsy, conducted by a coroner 3 days after the shocking discovery, estimated that the woman had been deceased for several weeks to possibly several months. However, the cause and manner of her death remained elusive. While her body bore evidence of animal predation, no broken bones, stab wounds, or gunshot wounds were found. Strangulation was considered a possibility, but the advanced decomposition offered no certainty, and the pathologist could not find conclusive evidence during the autopsy to support a homicide. Instead, an artery blockage hinted at a potential death from a heart attack. Nonetheless, detectives retained their suspicions and continued to consider foul play. The circumstances surrounding the victim's burial before her body was dragged to its exposed state left investigators with a dearth of leads. Their desire for closure, both for the woman who had lost her life under these mysterious circumstances and for justice, remained unfulfilled. Initial inquiries within Boulder County's residents yielded no fruitful tips, leaving the victim unidentified for several months. It was only in the fall of that year that a significant breakthrough occurred. In October 2006, a woman contacted the Longmont Police Department, expressing concern about her long unseen friend, Angie Wilder, whom she had been unable to contact. The missing friend's physical description closely matched that of the remains found in the canyon a few months earlier. Additionally, the woman mentioned a distinctive ring that her friend was known to wear, similar to the cross ring found on the victim. With this crucial information, investigators were able to identify the missing woman as Angela Wilds. In November 2006, she was officially identified as Angela Josephine Wilds through a DNA analysis on the rib bones, comparing them to those of her 4 sisters. Angela was 38 years old when she lost her life. Curiously, none of Angela's family members had reported her missing or conducted further investigations into her disappearance. Detectives learned that around the time she vanished in April 2006, she lacked a stable home or steady employment. Her life revolved around living with friends, but beyond this, investigators had little information to work with. Despite interviewing Angela's family, friends, and acquaintances, investigators remained no closer to unraveling the mystery of her fate. As investigators delved deeper into the case, they conducted DNA tests on the items discovered with Angela. These tests revealed the presence of unknown male DNA on the ski pants, sleeping bag, and pillowcase. However, it would take 3 more years to identify the contributor of this male DNA. On January 22, 2009, information reached investigators working on Angela's case from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI, indicating a preliminary match between the suspect's DNA and a man named John Michael Ankerer, who was incarcerated at a correctional center in Palmer, Alaska. 2 months later, in March 2009, investigators traveled to Alaska and collected additional DNA samples from Ankerer, further solidifying their suspicions. On February 24, 2009, detectives from the Anchorage, Alaska Police Department took John Michael Ankerer into custody on a warrant issued by the Boulder County Sheriff's Office, charging him with the 2006 murder of Angela Wilds. As investigators sought to establish the connection between Angela and Ankerer, they managed to locate several individuals who claimed to have seen them together in late 2005 and early 2006. On August 26, 2009, a detective from the Anchorage Police Department conducted a formal interview with Ankerer. In this interview, Ankerer recounted attending a dive school in Texas in February or March of 2006 and subsequently living in various Colorado locations, including Canyon City, Longmont, and Monte Vista, until July 2006. He stated that he moved to Alaska in August of that year. Curiously, Ankerer denied any knowledge of a person named Angie or Angela, and when shown her photograph, he maintained that he did not recognize her, failing to provide a confession or substantial information. Despite the initial challenges, investigators persisted. In September 2009, they re-interviewed Ankerer, who again denied knowing the victim. He also denied being in the South St. Francis area around the time of the crime. However, his own family members contradicted his claims. Ankerer's parents reported that he frequently visited a cave in the South St. Francis area, located off Highway 7, approximately 3 to 4 miles from Lyons. He hiked and camped in the vicinity, and his sister recalled dropping him off there on occasion. In March 2010, investigators issued a court-authorized arrest warrant for second-degree murder charges against Angela Wilds. At the time, Ankerer was already incarcerated in an Alaska prison on a probation violation charge. Ankerer's preliminary hearing took place in the Boulder City Court on July 12, 2010. While the evidence pointed to him, including DNA evidence and witness testimonies, it fell short of conclusively placing him at the crime scene. Prosecutors also struggled to establish a motive behind the killing. Ankerer's defense attorney argued that there was no physical evidence directly implicating Ankerer in Angela's death, especially considering the pathologist's inability to definitively declare it a homicide. Judge Thomas Reed, after considering the evidence, determined that probable cause did not sufficiently support the charge and subsequently dismissed the case. Despite this setback, detectives remained determined to solve the case. Over the years, the Boulder County Sheriff's Office and the District Attorney's Office continued their relentless efforts, collaborating with the Colorado Bureau of Investigación and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. These efforts included conducting interviews with various individuals and consulting with pathologists. In 2005, a pathologist re-evaluated the case, concluding that Angela's death should be considered a homicide due to the circumstances surrounding her discovery, a nude body covered in lime in a remote wooded area. Although the specifics of her death remained uncertain, asphyxiation emerged as the most probable cause. Nevertheless, this evidence alone was insufficient to hold the suspect accountable for the victim's death. Several years later, in December 2022, a new witness emerged, altering the course of the investigation dramatically. This witness happened to be Ankerer's former girlfriend, who had separated from him between December 2022 and January 2023. In subsequent interviews, she revealed disturbing details about Ankerer's past, describing him as extremely jealous, possessive, and prone to mistreatment. She believed that he suspected her of infidelity, and claimed that he had repeatedly strangled her during their relationship. However, when initially questioned in 2009, she had denied being strangled. Moreover, she believed that Ankerer harbored dark secrets, becoming particularly unstable and violent when consuming alcohol or drugs. The mention of certain women's names, including Angela, triggered his rage. In December 2022, detectives also contacted 2 other witnesses who claimed to have seen Ankerer with Angela at the El Motel in Longmont, Colorado, a mere 10 miles from the South St. Francis Canyon crime scene. When examining the motel records, investigators confirmed that Angela and Ankerer had stayed there together between December 26 and January 4, 2006. Based on the accumulating evidence, both new and existing, the Boulder County District Attorney's Office presented the case to a grand jury on February 16, 2023. The grand jury subsequently indicted John Ankerer once again, this time for second-degree murder. Investigators now hold confidence that justice will finally be served in this disturbing case. Boulder County District Attorney Michael Dougherty expressed their determination to secure justice for Angela Wilds' murder, offer closure to her loved ones, and provide answers to the community. On March 9, 2023, John Ankerer, now 53 years old, was arrested in Anchorage, Alaska, and extradition to Boulder City is currently pending, marking a significant step toward resolving the mysteries that have shrouded this case for far too long. On January 3, 1979, in Snohomish County, Washington, a duck hunter embarked on a chilly morning expedition, hoping for a successful day of game hunting. His anticipation was focused on capturing ducks and fish, but his plans took an unexpected turn when he stumbled upon something unusual caught in a fish net along the muddy flats by the shore. Intrigued, he approached the scene only to be met with a chilling discovery: human remains. The identity of the deceased individual remained a mystery, raising questions about what had transpired on that fateful day. Was it an unfortunate accident, or did a more sinister event occur? Snohomish County, a place characterized by its tight-knit community and picturesque landscapes, seemed an unlikely setting for such a perplexing enigma. Despite being the 3rd most populous county in Washington state, it offered a tranquil, small-town lifestyle with a relatively low crime rate. The community thrived on a blend of comfort and stability, making it hard to believe that a decades-long mystery would unfold in this idyllic setting. The new year of 1979 arrived with exceptionally harsh weather conditions in Snohomish County. Freezing temperatures and record-breaking snowfall had enveloped the region, making it challenging for residents to venture outside. January 3rd marked a rare day when the temperature climbed above freezing, allowing the duck hunter to pursue his quest for waterfowl profit. He arrived at the Snohomish River Delta on North Spencer Island, determined to catch ample ducks. Little did he know that this day would lead to a grim discovery. As he scanned the area for ducks, his attention was drawn to a peculiar sight ensnared in a fishing line. Upon closer inspection, he realized he was looking at human remains. Alarmed, he immediately alerted the police, and their arrival at the scene near Everett, Washington, sent shivers down their spines. The duck hunter's description eerily matched the horrifying reality. The scene revealed a macabre tableau. Tangled in the fishing line were clothing items, a shoe, and a partially skeletonized human leg bone. As they explored further, they discovered a checkered shirt, a human skull, ribs, another shoe containing a foot, a leather wallet devoid of its contents, a sock, and a belt. Although these details might appear inconsequential, they held the potential to unlock the identity of the unknown individual. Despite the complexity of the case, there was no immediate suspicion of foul play. Piecing together the events leading to the discovery of these remains presented a daunting task for investigators. The person had been deceased for an extended period, making it challenging to find definitive answers. The remains were subjected to an autopsy in the hopes of gathering any available information. The coroner's findings confirmed that the deceased had been dead for several months, providing a starting point for the investigation. However, Efforts to identify the individual through dental records and physical examination yielded no results. As a result, the case was classified as John Doe 79-1, with the cause of death marked as undetermined due to the scarcity of leads. After waiting for approximately 2.5 months, the unidentified man was laid to rest in a lavish grave at Cypress Memorial Park in Everett, Washington, a practice that differs from current procedures, where skeletal remains are retained until identified. The investigation did not conclude with the burial. Both the police and the community continued to search for leads to unveil the John Doe's identity. However, these efforts proved fruitless, and the case eventually went cold. Decades passed, and the mystery remained unsolved until 2008, when Sheriff's Detective Jim Scharf and retired Superior Court Judge Ken Kausert revisited the old case files, which had collected dust for years. Despite facing numerous obstacles, they were determined to uncover the truth. The data from the original investigation proved to be sparse and insufficient. Detectives struggled to establish a connection between the description of the mystery man and any missing persons from that era. The lack of digitized records further hindered their progress. Nevertheless, they persisted in their efforts to piece together a profile of the deceased. By 2015, approximately 36 years had elapsed since the man's discovery, and the investigation remained unresolved. To distinguish the case from numerous other John and Jane Doe cases, detectives gave it the nickname Spencer Eastland. In July 2015, they obtained permission from the Snohomish County Judge to exhume John Doe's body from Spencer Eastland. This marked a critical step in their quest for answers. Forensic odontologist Dr. Kyla Tanaka attempted to match the man's dental records with missing persons reports, but found no promising leads. The case was then uploaded to the NAMU's database of missing persons in August 2015, but again, no breakthroughs emerged. Detectives scrutinized the evidence collected in the past, including clothing, wallet, and belt, and concluded that the man likely wore secondhand clothes. They pleaded with the public to come forward with any information, even though immediate identification seemed unlikely. Their persistence paid off in late 2015, when they received a tip suggesting that the description of Spencer Allen John Doe matched that of a missing farmhand from Marysville. This promising lead prompted intense investigation. The man in question had run a fruit stand in Everett, was known for his persistent drinking, had a noticeable limp, and had disappeared in the late 1970s. Detectives pursued this lead diligently, hoping it would bring them closer to the truth. After a month of rigorous investigation, they received a disheartening revelation. They located a tombstone in Yuma, Arizona, for the same farmhand mentioned in the tip. He had passed away in 1981 while in the southwestern desert region, dispelling their hopes of identifying Spencer Allen John Doe through this lead. As detectives continued their relentless pursuit of answers, the medical examiner's office made significant discoveries regarding the deceased man's characteristics. In April 2016, Dr. Kathy Taylor, a forensic anthropologist, examined his exhumed bones. She estimated his age to be between 27 and 61 years old, with a height ranging from 5 feet 1 inch to 5 feet 7 inches. Furthermore, she determined that he had a Native American, Caucasian, or mixed heritage. The investigation delved deeper into the man's medical history, uncovering a gruesome injury. His left femur had been severely shattered and left untreated, causing him to walk with a painful limp. He may have also suffered from temporal mandibular joint syndrome, a painful jaw condition. Despite these apparent medical issues, there was no record of him seeking medical attention, even for his leg injury. The investigation further revealed that he had lost 2 left anterior top teeth and 2 molars, with healed sockets indicating they were lost before his death. He had alloy fillings in 3 teeth, suggesting access to dental care. The detectives were left with numerous unanswered questions regarding the man's life and the reasons behind his neglect of medical care in later years. The possibility that he may have been an inmate crossed their minds, but it seemed unlikely, as his distinctive features would have made him memorable to those who encountered him. The case relied heavily on theories and speculations. with detectives aware that even the smallest details could hold the key to unraveling the mystery. In 2018, a portion of the man's femur was sent to Othram Labs, a private forensic genealogy company funded by DNAsolves.com. This initiative aimed to use advanced DNA testing to identify the man. Eventually, a match was found through the GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA databases, leading to the identification of the John Doe as Gary Lee Haney on February 10, 2023. Gary's life had been marked by turmoil and hardship. Born in 1950 as Gary Joseph Condamiti, he faced early challenges with his parents' divorce and adoption by his mother's new husband, Sheldon Lee Haney. The family traveled extensively due to Sheldon's military service and work with Boeing. Despite his passion for music and interests, Gary was believed to have had a mental disorder, possibly autism or schizophrenia, which led to his isolation from the extended family. In the later years of his life, Gary disappeared from his family's radar, and he was declared legally dead in 1976, 3 years before his remains were discovered on Spencer Island. Sheldon Haney's failure to report his son missing raised suspicions about his involvement in Gary's disappearance. The revelation of Gary's identity stirred hope that someone might hold the missing puzzle piece to his mysterious disappearance and death. The investigation uncovered a web of secrets and lies, leaving detectives with more questions than answers. Gary Lee Haney's life remained shrouded in mystery, both before and after his tragic demise. As the news of Gary's identity spread, there was a growing sense of hope that someone out there might have the missing piece of the puzzle, that crucial bit of information that could shed light on his mysterious disappearance and tragic death. Ada Pearson's arrival on March 14, 1982, marked a joyous occasion for the Pearson family. As the eldest among her 4 siblings, Ada possessed a natural inclination to care for her younger brother Jonathan, as well as her sisters Ashley and Joanna Pearson. Yet Ada's influence extended far beyond her immediate family. Everyone fortunate enough to have crossed paths with Ada described her as a radiant beam of sunshine. Her contagious laughter and quick-witted humor had the power to illuminate even the gloomiest of days. Her heart of gold left an indelible mark on the lives of all who had the privilege of knowing her. She served as a constant wellspring of inspiration and positivity. Upon her graduation from El Capitan High School in California in 2000, Ada embarked on a journey of self-improvement, enrolling in sign language and mathematics courses at Grossmont Community College. Alongside her pursuit of knowledge, Ada's heart found its counterpart in a young man named Michael Plummer, then 20 years old. Their love story unfolded organically, and eventually, Ada moved in with Michael, sharing an apartment on Bancroft Street in San Diego, California. Their union appeared unbreakable, and a bright future beckoned. However, fate had other plans, and tragedy struck unexpectedly, forever altering the course of Ada's promising life. The fateful night of September 4, 2000, would be etched into the annals of tragedy. A frantic call to the police reported gunshots erupting from Michael's apartment, sending officers racing to the scene. What they encountered was a nightmare beyond comprehension. The apartment lay in disarray, and amid the chaos they discovered Ada and Michael sprawled on the living room floor, drenched in pools of crimson. Michael's body bore multiple gunshot wounds beyond salvation, while Ada clung to life, her form riddled with bullets. Tragically, the horror did not end there. 21-month-old Julio Rangel, Michael's nephew, had also fallen victim to the violence, fighting for his own life. Fortunately, Julio's parents had managed to escape unscathed. The neighborhood was left shell-shocked, and authorities grappled to unravel the unsettling puzzle. In a desperate bid to save Ada and Julio, both were rushed to separate hospitals. Yet, the extent of their injuries proved insurmountable, and they succumbed to their wounds shortly after arrival. As detectives relentlessly pieced together the events leading up to this tragedy, a shocking revelation emerged. Mere moments before the gunfire erupted, Michael had ventured next door to procure drugs from a man named Sergio Lopez Contreras. However, upon returning with the drugs, Michael reneged on payment, infuriating the dealer. In a surge of rage, Sergio unleashed a hail of bullets from outside the apartment door, firing a total of 14 rounds into the living room, with devastating consequences. Once the truth behind the murders came to light, detectives were resolute in their determination to bring Sergio to justice. However, the cunning drug dealer recognized the gravity of his predicament and chose to flee the country, escaping to Mexico. His evasion threatened to thwart the relentless pursuit of justice as detectives speculated about his whereabouts. It was believed he had sought refuge in Tijuana, where he had family ties, but leads grew scarce, and the investigation reached a disheartening impasse. The families of the victims yearned for answers, closure, and justice. Yet, as days turned to weeks and weeks into months, it seemed increasingly unlikely that the perpetrator responsible for this heinous act would face accountability. Their grief was compounded by the knowledge that the individual who had torn their loved ones from them remained at large, seemingly untouched by the law. For 2 agonizing decades, they clung to the fragile hope that justice would eventually prevail, and the perpetrator would be apprehended. Finally, in March 2023, after a protracted period of waiting, long-awaited news arrived. The police announced the arrest of Sergio, the primary suspect in the triple murder case, in Mexico on unrelated charges. While the specifics of his arrest remained undisclosed, this development infused a surge of relief and optimism into the hearts of the victims' families, who had endured years of suffering and uncertainty. At long last, there was a glimmer of hope that closure might be within reach. On March 22, 2023, Sergio, now 44 years old, was escorted across the U.S. border with the assistance of the U.S. Marshals and La Fiscalía General de la República. He was promptly booked into San Diego Central Jail, facing 3 counts of murder, along with special circumstances, including allegations of employing a rifle in the commission of the killings and lying in wait. The courtroom atmosphere brimmed with tension when he was arraigned 2 days later, on March 24, 2023. Appearing via teleconference, Sergio entered a plea of not guilty to the 3 counts of first-degree murder brought against him. The families of the victims, who had endured more than 2 decades of grief, expressed their profound gratitude to the law enforcement officials who had steadfastly pursued the case. With the suspect now in custody, their hopes rested on the legal system to deliver the justice they had yearned for over the years. It was a moment of renewed hope for the families, a glimmer of light piercing through the darkness of their long, painful journey towards closure and justice. Amanda Gonzalez came into this world on December 8, 1981, born to Santos Gonzalez and Gloria Bates. Her early years were marked by the separation of her parents, a situation clouded in mystery. In due course, Gloria remarried a man named Michael Bates, who would step into the role of a father figure for Amanda when she was just 4 years old. Michael, hailing from Madisonville, Texas, watched Amanda grow into a popular girl with a heart of gold. Known for her kindness and her unwavering stand against bullies on behalf of her classmates, Amanda graduated from Madisonville High School in the year 2000. A turning point came when, after her high school graduation, Amanda surprised her family with a life-altering decision. She arrived home with a recruiter, announcing her intention to enlist in the U.S. Army. Her dream was to become a physical therapist for children, and she saw the Army as a means to save up for college. Amanda's family supported her decision, though little did they know the heart-wrenching consequences that lay ahead. With her family's blessings, Amanda embarked on a path that would take her to places she had never imagined. It was the year 2001, and at the age of 19, she found herself stationed in Hanau, Germany. Assigned the role of a cook, Amanda worked diligently, but she also made it a point to explore the cultural wonders of the country in her spare time. She marveled at majestic castles and got lost in the enchanting city of Paris. Europe held countless experiences for her. Several months into her service, Amanda made an unexpected call to her mother back in Texas. The news she delivered was filled with excitement. She was pregnant and eagerly looking forward to the new chapter in her life. Amanda planned to name her baby Alicia Marie, with an estimated delivery date of March 26, 2002. However, The identity of the unborn child's father remained a mystery, one that persists to this day. Amanda's life seemed to be on an upswing. She had a promising future ahead. But fate had a cruel twist in store. On November 5, 2001, a day that began like any other in Hanover, Germany, Amanda inexplicably vanished. Her absence raised alarm among her fellow soldiers, and a search was launched. They arrived at her barracks, only to find her room locked. Fearful of the worst, they forced their way in and discovered Amanda's lifeless body on the floor. Panic engulfed them as they desperately tried to revive her, but their efforts were in vain. The news of Amanda's death spread rapidly, sending shockwaves through the army base. The autopsy report revealed the grim truth. Amanda had been strangled to death. This devastating news reverberated all the way to Texas, leaving Amanda's loved ones with a multitude of unanswered questions. Why would anyone want to harm Amanda? An investigation was launched, but despite the dedicated efforts of the authorities, the case went cold. There were no leads, no suspects, and no justice for Amanda. It was a heartbreaking end to a life that had held so much promise. Despite the investigation into her daughter's murder stalling for several years, Gloria, Amanda's mother, never lost faith in justice. She spent years reaching out to lawmakers, and even wrote to popular TV shows like Dr. Phil and America's Most Wanted, all in an effort to keep Amanda's case in the public eye. Gloria's unwavering determination extended to her visits to Amanda's grave, where she often spoke to her deceased daughter, vowing to keep fighting. In 2011, a ray of hope emerged when Army investigators offered a reward of $125,000 for any information that could help solve the case. However, still, no breakthrough came. Gloria received weekly updates from investigators, each containing the same disheartening news: no suspects had been identified. Finally, after 22 years of waiting, perseverance paid off. On February 23, 2023, an FBI agent informed Gloria that there had been a breakthrough in the case and that an arrest had been made. This day marked a significant step closer to the justice Amanda deserved. The individual taken into custody was Shannon L. Wilkerson, a 42-year-old former armed forces member. The arrest was the result of a collaborative effort between the FBI Jacksonville Office of Special Investigations, and the Army Criminal Investigation Division. Wilkerson was charged under the Military Extraterrestrial Jurisdiction Act, which grants U.S. courts jurisdiction over former members of the armed forces for crimes committed overseas. The exact details of how investigators linked Wilkerson to the murder and what his possible motive might have been remain unclear. Nevertheless, he pleaded not guilty to the first-degree murder charge against him, and if convicted, he could face life imprisonment. Interestingly, it came to light that Wilkerson had even attended a memorial service for Amanda at the Army base in Germany after her death. The future remains uncertain, but for Gloria and her family, the arrest of Amanda's alleged killer provides a sense of justice and closure that they've been yearning for over 2 decades. In the serene Nakamixon Township, nestled within the rural confines of Bucks County, Pennsylvania, a tranquil community thrives, with approximately 3,000 residents calling it home. This picturesque area is renowned for its unwavering dedication to preserving natural beauty and promoting tourism. However, this peaceful setting was forever scarred by a heinous crime that unfolded in 1980, casting a long shadow over the region. On the ill-fated day of September 18, 1980, a construction worker toiled away on a cottage undergoing renovations. The cottage was nestled amidst the dense woods off Center Hill Road, approximately 1 mile south of its intersection with Kintner Hill Road in Nakamixon Township. In the midst of his labor, fate led him to stumble upon a gruesome sight: a lifeless body concealed beneath the wooden structure. This grim discovery shattered the tranquility of the forest, leaving the entire community in mourning and investigators grappling with an enigmatic puzzle. The lifeless body, upon its grim revelation, was conveyed to the morgue, where it underwent a thorough examination under the skilled hands of the medical examiner. The results were chilling. The man had sustained 4 fatal gunshot wounds to the head. The victim was subsequently identified as Richard Wesley Wheeler, his identity confirmed through a fingerprint match in the records. Armed with this critical information, investigators embarked on an arduous journey to uncover the layers of Wheeler's past, seeking to unearth the truth behind his tragic demise. As the investigation into Richard Wesley Wheeler's murder unraveled, a troubling revelation emerged. Wheeler had a criminal record. Having been released from prison just a year earlier in 1979, it appeared that he wasted no time reacquainting himself with trouble. He was soon linked to a perilous venture, an illicit methamphetamine lab jointly operated with two other men, Peter Eric Marshall and Leslie Schmidt. This lab was clandestinely housed in a camper parked near Lake Nakamixon, a risky endeavor fueled by determination. However, the enterprise took a sinister turn when Wheeler mysteriously vanished, and shortly thereafter, his lifeless body was discovered. Detectives understood that to solve this perplexing case, they needed to delve deeper into the workings of this illicit operation. It became evident that Wheeler was the mastermind, residing on the same property and closely overseeing the activities. The operation was further guarded by the formidable and loyal bodyguard, Peter Eric Marshall, while imprisoned financier Leslie Schmidt, though detained, kept a watchful eye on proceedings. Fate intervened when Richard Wheeler, a former convict, found himself incarcerated once more for a previous crime, theft of boats, which earned him the nickname the Captain. Schmidt, on the other hand, was serving a sentence in a different facility, but had entrusted Wheeler with a substantial sum of money for management. Their unlikely companionship flourished, leading them down a dark and perilous path. Upon delving further into Marshall's background, it was revealed that he had been imprisoned for stealing a 41-foot sailboat. Despite being ordered to leave the islands and deported back to Germany, Marshall's love for the sea remained unquenchable. He found work as a crewman on a private yacht, relishing the freedom and adventure of the ocean once more. However, in February 1977, while the yacht's owners were ashore enjoying an evening out, Marshall used his nautical skills to abscond with the 41-foot sailboat, along with a substantial amount of cash totaling $10,000. Marshall's audacious exploits continued when, just a month later, in March 1977, he targeted an even larger prize, a 43-foot sailboat docked in a harbor in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. Marshall's insatiable thirst for adventure and penchant for eluding authorities were evident. Nevertheless, his criminal journey eventually led him to a federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut, in May 1977, where he crossed paths with two notorious individuals, Wheeler and Schmidt. Bonding over their shared criminal histories, the trio hatched a plan to enter the illegal drug trade upon their release from prison. Wheeler was the first to regain his freedom in November 1979, marking a pivotal moment in their operation. Later that same year, Schmidt was granted a 30-day furlough from prison, a decision that would significantly impact the methamphetamine operation. Seizing this opportunity, Schmidt orchestrated a critical connection for Wheeler, leading to the lease of a property in the tranquil township of Nakamixon. The collaboration reached its apex when Schmidt generously provided Wheeler with a substantial sum of $250,000 intended to support Schmidt's family while he completed the remainder of his sentence. Wheeler understood the weight of this responsibility and the need to use the funds wisely. In July 1980, Peter Eric Marshall was released from prison, but his newfound freedom was short-lived. U.S. immigration officials from JFK Airport in New York City were escorting him to his homeland of Germany, a place he had not called home since his youth. Marshall knew that he had to act swiftly to avoid an undesirable fate. As he boarded the plane, he covertly scanned for an opportunity to escape, and then, as if Providence had intervened, the pilot announced a flight cancellation due to mechanical issues. Amidst the ensuing chaos, Marshall seized his chance and vanished into the bustling crowds of the airport. In 1983, armed with a wealth of information and a growing resolve, investigators embarked on a renewed quest to unravel the unsolved murder case. Witnesses were interviewed, and through their testimonies the fragments of the puzzle began to coalesce. It was revealed that the triggerman, of German descent, had been hired by none other than Leslie Schmidt himself, the shooter's identity traced back to his time in Danbury Federal Prison. As the intricate web of connections and relationships slowly unraveled, it became evident that a tapestry of deceit and greed had precipitated Wheeler's tragic demise. The investigation posed formidable challenges, but through unrelenting determination, Bucks County Detective David Hanks eventually untangled the mystery. In 2023, Peter Eric Marshall reappeared in Upper Bucks County, but his return was far from harmonious. Tensions simmered between Wheeler, Schmidt, and the two businessmen, hurtling them toward a violent collision. Schmidt had grown suspicious of Wheeler, convinced that he was swindling him out of his share of the methamphetamine profits. In a fit of rage, Schmidt ordered Marshall to eliminate Wheeler, whom he believed had betrayed him. Marshall, who had been fiercely loyal to Wheeler for years, found himself in a precarious situation. Ultimately, he reluctantly followed Schmidt's orders, fatally shooting Wheeler, and then hastily fled across state lines into New Jersey. The investigation laid bare a dark facet of human nature, where the insatiable craving for wealth and power could culminate in unimaginable acts of violence. The once enigmatic cold case, which had long cast a shadow of uncertainty, finally found resolution. The meticulous investigative work pieced together the missing elements, constructing a timeline of events that ultimately led to closure. The relentless pursuit of Marshall, who had vanished after the murder, resembled a relentless hunt for a phantom. However, investigators refused to yield, scouring every shred of evidence and pursuing every lead. In March 2023, a breakthrough emerged, a critical piece of information from Marshall's criminal history that would finally lead them to their elusive target. It was akin to finding a needle in a haystack when investigators unearthed that Marshall had been arrested in 1982 on drug conspiracy charges in New York. During that arrest, he had identified himself as Charles McLaren. Leveraging modern technology, investigators matched the fingerprints from McLaren's arrest to those taken in 1977. This discovery exposed how Marshall had managed to obscure his true identity, assuming a new persona as Charles McLaren. Under this new identity, Marshall crafted an entirely different life, complete with a wife, children, and even a thriving limousine service in the bustling metropolis. For over 2 decades, he remained hidden, with his criminal past a distant memory. After years of relentless pursuit and the painstaking assembly of the puzzle, the Bucks County District Attorney's Office finally brought closure to the case, although the culprits had already passed away, Marshall in 2006 and Schmidt in 2022. Justice had ultimately been served for the victim and his grieving family. While the legacy of the crime and the names of the individuals involved would forever be etched in history, the resolution of the case serves as a poignant reminder that law enforcement perseveres in their quest for truth and justice. With the case now closed, the Bucks County District Attorney's Office can move forward, knowing that they have fulfilled their duty to seek justice and bring closure to a dark chapter in their community's history. In the year 2018, in the city of Prospect near Blacktown, Australia, there resided a 71-year-old widow named Nadir Sensoy. Her life was intertwined with that of her beloved son, Salim Sensoy. Nadir's early years held many mysteries, but one thing was certain: she had been a steadfast resident of Prospect for nearly 4 decades. Within the close-knit community, Nadir held a special place in the hearts of her neighbors. She was renowned for her selfless acts of kindness, always ready to extend a helping hand, whether it was providing rides to the market or sharing her delectable homemade treats. Nadir's unwavering commitment to her community left an indelible mark, earning her admiration and respect from everyone who had the privilege of knowing her. To Nadir, family was paramount, and she took immense pride in being the devoted mother of 5 children and a loving grandmother to 17 cherished grandchildren. Her life revolved around creating a nurturing environment for her family. However, the tranquility of the quiet town of Prospect was shattered when tragedy struck Nadir. The beloved matriarch, who was a friend to all, mysteriously vanished without a trace in December 2018. The last confirmed sighting of her was on Thursday, December 6, 2018, near her residence. The days that followed were excruciating for her family, friends, and the community that had grown so fond of her. Nadir's sudden disappearance was highly unusual, leaving everyone bewildered and concerned for her safety. It was on Tuesday, December 11, 2018, that the Sensoy family decided to take action and reported Nadir as a missing person, initiating a frantic search to locate her. The local Blacktown Police Command promptly launched an extensive search operation, hoping to uncover any clues leading to her whereabouts. Despite their tireless efforts, the searches conducted around her home yielded no results, intensifying the pervasive sense of unease. Both her family and the police shared deep concerns about her well-being. As the investigation unfolded, detectives uncovered a puzzling detail. They learned that Nadir had made several appointments prior to her disappearance and had not accessed her bank account since then. This discovery deepened the enigma surrounding her vanishing act, leaving everyone with more questions than answers. Investigators persevered, working tirelessly around the clock, with the hope of finding any lead that could unravel the mystery. They made a public appeal, providing a description of Nadir as a Mediterranean Middle Eastern woman, approximately 165 centimeters tall, with a slender build and short, dyed brown hair. Despite their best efforts, no one came forward with any information. As months passed, hope began to wane, and the fear that she may have met a grim fate cast a long shadow over the community. Even if she had been harmed, the question of her whereabouts remained unanswered. The investigation eventually hit a dead end, leaving everyone wondering if the truth would ever be uncovered. The people of Prospect were heartbroken, mourning the loss of a beloved community figure. They clung to the hope of a miracle that would reunite them with Nadir. In 2020, after 2 years of fruitless investigation, the police made a pivotal decision to offer a reward of $350,000 for any information leading to Nadir's discovery. The hope was that this substantial reward would prompt someone's conscience to come forward with vital information. The announcement of the reward injected new life into the investigation, with law enforcement eagerly anticipating a breakthrough. However, as weeks turned into months, it became evident that the reward had not yielded any promising leads. Despite the desperate efforts of Nadir's family, friends, and the police, she remained missing, and the mystery surrounding her disappearance only deepened. In the same year, a startling development emerged when investigators shifted their focus to Nadir's own son, Salim, as a potential suspect. At the time, Salim was serving a 2.5-year prison sentence for assaulting his sister and possessing an unauthorized firearm, an arrest made approximately a week after his mother's disappearance. While it remains unclear what led authorities to suspect him, investigators cited Salim's behavior as one of the leads they were pursuing in their quest to shed light on his mother's perplexing vanishing act. Then, on May 23, 2020, in a daring escape, Salim managed to break free from the Glen in his correction center where he was incarcerated. Shockingly, he simply walked out of the low-security prison and absconded in a stolen red Subaru WRX. This audacious jailbreak prompted a massive manhunt, launching the police force into overdrive. The stolen vehicle was spotted the following day in Mori, 210 kilometers away from the correctional center. The police initiated a pursuit, but the situation grew increasingly perilous as the car sped recklessly, leading to the police abandoning the chase for safety reasons. Nevertheless, the police persisted in their search, aided by helicopters and the K9 unit. They eventually located the abandoned car, but Salim was nowhere to be found. Salim remained on the run for 8 arduous months, constantly evading capture, while the police conducted extensive searches and inquiries in their desperate bid to apprehend him. Finally, on January 11, 2021, officers from the Hawkesbury Police Area Command received a tip-off, indicating that Salim was hiding in a house on New Street in Windsor. In the early hours of the morning, They descended upon the property and with the assistance of the K-9 unit, they conducted a thorough search. Salim made a desperate attempt to flee from the back of the house, but it was too late. The police apprehended him and took him to the Windsor police station, where they executed 2 outstanding warrants for his inmate escape and vehicle theft. Despite Salim's capture, there was still no information regarding the whereabouts of his mother, Nadir, and the mystery surrounding her disappearance persisted. As the years passed, the hope of finding Nadir alive dwindled. In March 2023, a coronial inquest into her suspected death commenced. However, before any answers could be uncovered, the inquiry was abruptly halted due to shocking new information. Though the authorities remained tight-lipped about the specifics, it became evident that the spotlight had once again shifted to Nadir's son Salim. Following further inquiries, the police made their move on March 21, 2023. They finally arrested Salim, now 47 years old, at the Wagga Wagga police station and charged him with the murder of his own mother. On the same day, the court heard that he allegedly committed the heinous crime between December 6 and 11, 2018, in the Blacktown area. Salim's plea for bail was denied, and he now faced a protracted legal battle ahead. Nadir's daughter expressed relief upon hearing the news of her brother Salim's arrest for their mother's murder. The family hoped that with Salim's arrest, they could finally locate Nadir's remains and bring her home for a proper burial. However, the road ahead remained uncertain, with no one certain about the outcome of Salim's case or if the truth about their mother's fate would ever come to light.